Robert, I think that there's a misconception, perhaps in the United States, about The Cure, that it's one of these gloomy groups, like some of the other English, sensitive, serious bands that have come out of late. Would you like to dispel that myth?
Okay. Yeah, it's only here really that we're lumped together with groups who wear black as a
I beg your pardon.
as a profession.
But what other groups actually are we talking about? The Smiths, perhaps? Well,
the Smiths are an unfortunate comparison because I actually dislike them immensely.
Why?
But I just don't like him. I think he's really arrogant, mainly. He's like a professional intellectual. It's like the worst type of person. But I like other groups that have a more melancholic feel to them, like the Cocteau Twins and people like that. I actually enjoy listening to them. But I mean, we've had a deserved reputation in the past for being gloomy. I mean, we have been gloomy, you know, none gloomier. But it's just that in the past couple of years, I felt sort of littler. You know.
Happier,
Yeah.
livelier.
Yeah.
Well, when you put the record out with all of the singles on it, I think also that American music fans have a chance to hear really, well, first of all, there's a tremendous variety of songs on it, but there's also quite a lot of very catchy pop tunes, no? I mean,
Yes, we're a very catchy pop group, aren't we? Yeah, there are. I find it surprising that so many people are surprised themselves by the diversity of what we've done. But I mean, it's like almost 10 years since we started making records, and it would be laughable if there wasn't a diversity in that amount of time. If we were just like, I know a lot of people do, like you strike on something and you regurgitate it, and it's you consolidate your position by just like playing the same thing with different words. Unfortunately, most people do that, but we've always been sort of like a bit haphazard in the way that we work and what we do. I never have any idea of what we're going to do next. There's no sort of career planning in what we do.
well, it's interesting that you started in 1976 at a time when in England punk was just starting, right? I mean, it was the Sex Pistols and the Clash and the Damned and all of that. You really weren't a part of that, were you?
No, again, I was inspired by the attitude. I liked people rather than the people that you were saying. I preferred groups like the Buzzcocks, who were part of that movement. I mean, the only really hardcore punk band that I liked was the Banshees, and the Stranglers possibly, even though they were really old then. But it was just that whole, more than the music, the attitude we adopted, we were part of. We were never fashionably punk, but that was what was wrong with punk, was that it had a uniform. I mean, I hate that about all, you know, new fashions in music. There's always something, you have to wear a certain outfit to be part of it.
Well, it's interesting, none of them lasted, did they?
No, the Stranglers, but again, they're too belligerent.
No, but I'm talking about the fashionable punk groups. I mean, even the Clash.
They still do, don't they? They now make their living having their photographs taken. It's there's still people that emulate that whole side of things. But again, it's laughable. It's like old Teds. You know, do you have Teds over here?
No, but we know what they are.
Yeah.
Or old hoods or something, or
yeah,
old
I mean,
hippies.
Because the actual attitude that was being sort of touted at the time had existed for a long time before, and still exists in certain groups. I mean, we still have that very dismissive attitude towards, I don't know, what you would call the industry, I suppose. Even though, I mean, we're part of it, I'm not going to be paradoxical and say, you know, we're completely outside of everything. I wouldn't be sitting here if I thought that. But as long as you're seen to be doing things in a slightly different way, that you're actually doing it for your own enjoyment and not for any kind of career gain. The idea of the personality cult, you know, which exists particularly in America, I find a bit wearisome, really.
Well,
close up in my face now.
I was just going to say, you are a personality, no? I mean, you don't not draw attention to yourself.
No, I know. That's what I mean. I'm treading on very thin ice when I say it. But at least I realise it. At least I appreciate it. It's inevitable in a sense. I mean, I derive an immense amount of enjoyment, like particularly like from standing on stage and singing at people. But I would much prefer not to have so many people around when we're talking. It's unnatural. So the two things don't really go hand in hand. It's not like there's a difference between being shy, I think, and just being private.
Hold on. All right, let's just... I will just keep talking, don't worry. Making fun of this. physical deformities. All right.
You can't move in
You're
the chairs.
dismissive.
Every time you move, it sounds like you're on a boat.
I know, so don't worry about it. Just do what you want because we edit it anyway. You said that you were dismissive of the industry, but also aren't you in fact dismissive of a lot of the other music that's being made, particularly, I mean, what's coming out of England? You came from 1976, all the punk stuff that became fashionable, that might not have been really the hardcore street punk that you liked better. Now what's coming out of England, I don't know, Johnny Lydon called a lot of it wimpy English disco.
I think he's wimpy English disco. I think he's got a real cheek to say that about other people. I think he epitomises to me what's exactly wrong with what's going on in England. It's not just England, it's everywhere. But I mean, that motivated me to start The Cure anyway. That's why we took the name. It was like I was fed up of being confronted by turgid music and turgid entertainment. I mean, there is always the choice that you can go and listen to Beethoven or Chopin, but I mean, if you're like listening to contemporary music, still 99% of it I find just boring. There is no better word for it.
So The Cure you didn't cure anything, did you?
No,
really?
but at least we've just joined into this. Like, it's a very small collection of people. I mean, it's obviously a purely subjective thing, but I would listen to The Cure if I wasn't in them, and it's not like saying, you've got to listen to The Cure. I enjoy what we do. I enjoy Echo and the Bunnymen and New Order and the Cocktail Twins. I'd like the Jesus and Mary chain for different reasons, but it's all part. At the same time, I'm not expecting us to replace Huey Lewis and the News and all those other wonderful people. It's that because they exist quite happily and lots of people like them, it's fine. But if there weren't people like The Cure, if there weren't groups like The Cure, there would be no choice. And I mean, it's all we present. I don't expect us to be wildly successful, very famous.
Well, you have had huge hits, particularly in England, and you've had big dance hits here, and
yes,
don't
but
you
you know
think
that
it's
that's a
possible?
different sort of level, really. It's I don't know. It doesn't bother me. It would be really nice to see us constantly on television here and hear us on the radio. I'd be foolish to think otherwise. But most people wouldn't like that. Otherwise, we would be. If you see what I mean. So it's. I live it. I bear it.
What music did you grow up listening to? What did you like when you were a kid?
Because I had an older brother and sister, I listened to early 60s music when I was in the early 60s, and so it's like I grew up listening to things like Captain Beefheart. I knew all the words to Safe as Milk by the time I was 10 years old. Not the Velvet Underground. Like my older brother and sister always liked the less. Again, see, I don't like the Velvet Underground. There's too much. I like some of their songs. I think they're really good. But I don't like what the Velvet Underground means, what they stand for. See, again, there's too many connotations that are attached to it. More simple things I listen to, like early Rolling Stones and stuff like that.
I think another one.
Jimi Hendrix, he was my hero.
One of the other images of your band here is that if you're not sitting around and sort of dreaming all the time and thinking of these dreams and lyrics and so forth, that you're always drunk. Is that true?
No, it's not. But it's there's this character's been created, sort of like with my name, which I just find it funny. I mean, if I try and deny things that the mythology of a group, it almost seems like I'm denying it because it's true. Like if people want to believe that I'm always staggering about in a stupor, I mean the thing is laughable because if I was, I would never be able to do anything.
You also said once, you told me when we spoke once before, that you never tell the truth, particularly when you're talking to the English music press. You said you lie all the time to journalists. Do you still?
Yeah.
Are you now?
I don't see it as lying. It's more like it's weaving. It's fabricating. It's just because if I answered the same questions with the same answers, I'd grow bored. Never mind anyone that's like reading or listening. So I just sometimes say whatever comes into my head first.
Well,
get
one
myself
thing.
into a very tricky situation sometimes.
Like what? What kind of tricky situations?
How I've been orphaned for years.
How you've been an orphan?
Yeah, almost since the day I was born.
And how did your family feel about that?
Well, no, if I do an interview and no one knows who we are, which is quite frequent over here, if it's like for a syndicated paper or something, and I'll say, I think it was on our 16th album, or it might have been our 17th. I go, 16 albums? I go, yeah. But doesn't say anything about Dad in the biography. I go, no, we try and play that down. We usually release about 3 or 4 albums a year. No one's going to say to me, you're lying, even though it's obvious.
One thing you did say to me also was that if you dressed, because I had, when we were talking, it was on the telephone, I was asking what you were wearing on stage, and you said that you wore very sort of anonymous baggy suits and things, and you said if we dressed the way we really were, we'd look like the Village People.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did. Now, what was that? Was that a lie or just one of those momentary things to say not to bore yourself?
I can understand why I said something like that. Just because the 5 of us that are in the group at the moment are very wayward. I mean, the only thing we have in common is the fact that we're completely dissimilar. So if we go out for a drink and we're not wearing our grey uniforms, you see, then we all wear extremely foolish things. I mean, Paul, for example, wears a gondolier's outfit. I mean, he would quite happily wear a straw hat on stage and things. I just don't think it would go down very well. And I mean, Simon is very he would wear an entire leather outfit. Lawrence would probably wear a dress. That's what I probably meant.
And you?
British people. I would just probably wear anonymous baggy clothes, to be honest.
What happened in 1982? You broke up the band and you went to play guitar with Siouxsie and the Banshees. Why?
No, I didn't like being the front person in the group. I got fed up with doing interviews and having to, be the one that was like the focal point. So I thought it was a good opportunity to just go off and watch Sue's bum while I was on stage.
And what happened with that? Did it last as long as you had wanted it to? Did it work out the way you wanted it to?
It lasted a lot longer than any of us thought it would. They always understood that I would leave when I felt I should. I initially joined for about 3 months just to do a set of concerts, but I stayed for about 18 months. Just towards the end, I got frustrated because I was like the 4th and quietest voice, and I'm so used to being able to say no, usually no, we're not going to do this, and I couldn't say that with them, and I'd be going, oh, let's not do this, please, and they'd go, no, we have to do it, and I just got fed up with it.
So you left The Cure, you broke up The Cure to be in Siouxsie and the Banshees because you didn't want to be a front person, and then you were frustrated after a while in Siouxsie and the Banshees because you couldn't have your own way. So you went back to being the front person again.
Well, all the time I was with the Banshees, we were doing things like Let's Go to Bed and The Walk and The Love Cats. So I kept sort of slipping away. And the reason was when the Banshees were recording the Hyena album, I was recording the Top album, virtually on my own at the same time.
Yeah, I'm confused. Were you in the 2 bands at the same time, or you were doing your own stuff while you were with the Banshees?
When for example, the Christmas of 1983, there's the Top of the Pops, that they have in England.
Yes.
I was on with The Cure doing the Love Cats, and then the next song I was on with the Banshees doing Dear Prudence. So they were coexistent, and The Glove as well, which I was doing with Severin, just to fill in the time when I could have possibly slept. So it was funny because around that time, this thing about how much I slept came about. I was like Sleepy Bob and things.
Oh, I've not heard that.
I was recording with the Banshees from 2 in the afternoon till about midnight, and then driving to a different studio and recording the Top album from 2 in the morning till 8 o'clock in the morning, and then sleeping for about 2 or 3 hours, and then doing the same thing. I went mental. Were you
driven? I mean, were you a workaholic? Did you love doing this, or did you just fall into it?
In retrospect, I have no idea why I did. I mean, I enjoyed it. It's really good fun. I would never do it again. It took an enormous toll on me physically. I reached this point and I didn't know where I was, or whether I was asleep or awake, or what I was doing. It's very, very disturbing. And so that's why I actually left the Banshees and didn't have The Cure either for a few weeks. I wouldn't,
What did you do during those few weeks?
I went on a walking holiday of England.
How far did you get?
A backpack. I did really well. I walked for about 2 weeks, sleeping in a tent. Did me a lot of good.
Do you think that there's some paranoia among the other members of your band that at any moment you could break it up again and just go flee somewhere?
No, it's funny, I've never asked them, but they would know. I mean, it's not like I'm not that ridiculous. I wouldn't suddenly wake up and go, God, I hate the others. it would build up. I mean, people always leave The Cure for much deeper reasons than just my waywardness. Usually they make the decision because they don't like the direction of that the group's taken, or they don't like something about the group. It's very rarely just because I can't really say to those, right, you're out, because they'll just bash me up.
Isn't the direction of the group very much, though, your vision?
Yes, so that means that the people that are in the group at any particular time sort of trust me, and they enjoy what they're doing. They like the way that I think, or the way I think The Cure should be. I mean, it's been together, this particular lineup, for about 2 years, or just over 2 years. I mean, I'd at the moment, I'd be very happy if it continued indefinitely. But it's not. I mean, it's not up to me. Like the way you've asked me, it's not up to me.
You're not a tyrant.
No, one of them might come up to me and say, you know, this is wrong. You know, you're going to change it, otherwise I'm going to leave. And I'll sort of, you know, I'll either change it or they'll leave. It's simple as that. Really.
Which would be more likely to
I can hardly leave,
happen.
can I? It's like it would follow me around. It lurks around corners, The Cure.
You've done a lot of videos with Tim Pope, and I think a lot of them are really kind of great, sick, funny, ambiguous, unique videos. What were some of the goals that you had for your videos?
Up until the time that we made the first video with Pap, which was Let's Go to Bed, every video we'd done up until then was with people who had absolutely no notion of what The Cure could be like. It's just like we would be presented as this, like your initial question about the doomy, sort of very straight, very, you know, particularly tedious group. And I just saw the Soft Cell video for Bedsitter, I think it was, and I thought it was the first video I'd seen for ages that had all this, it felt really sparkly and sort of vibrant. And as soon as I met Tim Pope, I thought, this is the person that must do The Cure videos, because he's just demented, really, basically. He's all sort of twisted, and he's been doing them ever since. I think we've reached the point now. I mean, the next thing we're going to do with them is a feature-length film, because we've sort of exhausted the. You know, we're both fed up with being restricted by the idea of like a promotional film that's actually selling something. The group and him want to do something which is far looser, where we can like be more expressive. We're not tied down to like, I don't have to mime. We don't have to pretend we're a group. So we're doing that in October of this year. We're filming it in various locations in France.
Have you written it? Does it have a story?
It has a very tenuous storyline. Yeah, we're sort of, it's the five of us in the group are the main characters, but we're not The Cure. It's a very odd. It's just an odd film. You have to see it. He wants to do something. He wants to make something that has the same sort of impression that the early Beatles films had on people.
In the Close to Me video, what is that? You're in the water in a cellar? How did you do that?
But again, the way he works is he always asks what we're trying to get across, like with a particular song. If we're going to make a film, he says, you know, what do you want people to feel like when they're watching you doing this song? And with that, the first thing that came to my mind was, I thought I wanted it to be really claustrophobic, as if you're in a wardrobe, but the wardrobe's on the edge of a cliff, so you can't even try and fight your way out, because if you move, the wardrobe's going to go off the cliff, and then you're going to fall into water and you're going to drown anyway. So it's
a recurring theme, isn't it?
And unfortunately, he took me literally, and we arrived to do the video shoot, and he had this huge tank full of really disgustingly dirty water out of a fire engine and a wardrobe. So we had to perform in a wardrobe, and then like he lowered us into dirty water, and he was laughing insanely as he did it. So we had to stay in this water for about 4 hours, and everyone was virtually hospitalised for a month afterwards.
No, you weren't, really.
Someone was pissing in it, let me tell you. Wasn't me?
Oh, that's pretty disgusting. Let me ask you one more question. You're going on a very long tour, aren't you, of the United States starting this summer?
Long for us, not long...
Well, I mean long for you, because you're not a big fan of being on the road for a very long time, are you?
No.
Well, how do you think you'll deal with that?
Well, it's the only tour we're doing this year. I mean, you can't do anything but what I think is a long tour in America, because it's so big. I mean, like last year we played for a month in America, and we didn't go to 99% of it. So this year we're doing another month's tour. I mean, we're going to Texas. And, yeah, it's just. I mean, but it's like a month longer than anywhere else. We're visiting all the places we didn't visit last year, and some of the ones that we did, like obviously like New York and Los Angeles and
Right.
the more obvious places, I suppose. But I'm actually looking forward to it because it's the only tour we're doing this year. I think it'll be really good fun.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you.